Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the first Hadith lesson in this Hadith series, in which I will be looking at Sahih al-Bukhari. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa afdal salati wa atammu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barak wa sallam. Now Sahih al-Bukhari is the most looked into book after the Kitabullah, the Quran al-Kareem, and its full title is Al-Jami' Al-Musnad Al-Sahih Al-Mukhtasar min Umuri Rasulillahi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wa Sunanihi wa Iyamihi. And this is by Imam Bukhari, who is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ismail ibn Ibrahim ibn Mughira ibn Bardizbah Al-Ju'afi Wala. So Imam Bukhari, he was from Samarkand, Uzbekistan, modern day Uzbekistan, and his father passed away when he was young, and his mom, she was one whose du'as were accepted. She was a pious and righteous woman, and Imam Bukhari, he had weak eyesight when he was young, so she made dua for his eyes to be excellent, to be back to full recovery. And Ibrahim al-Islam, Prophet Ibrahim a.s. came into the dream to give the good news. So Imam Bukhari, he is a non-Arab. In fact, all of the great 6 books of Hadith the authors are non-Arabs. They're Ajamis. So Imam Bukhari from Bukhara, he traveled far and wide for this pure purpose of collecting this from the Prophet ﷺ, from those who the Prophet ﷺ left behind, who possessed this knowledge of hadith, who possessed the actions, who witnessed the actions, or who heard someone who witnessed the actions, which are the Sahabas. Actions of the Prophet ﷺ is a sunnah. The traditions also include the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ, as well as the approval. Anyone of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in did any action in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he approved of it, he didn't say anything against it, that is then considered a sunnah. So Imam Bukhari searched for these people who from their sheikhs and their sheikhs took it from the Prophet ﷺ. And Imam Bukhari, he has many those who took from, and the shortest sanad, the chain of transmission to the Prophet ﷺ from him, is 3. And so Imam Bukhari, he traveled far, he drank from his local village, his town, and once he had drank its fill of knowledge of hadith, he traveled. And he had traveled to Sham, to Misr, to Basra, to Kufa, to Khorasan, to Baghdad, Ri, Asqalan, Nisapur, amongst others. And this is his endeavor, his perseverance in finding those who had the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And he is the most well known, and he's the one his collection is the most sahih, the most correct. Why? Because of his conditions he put. He wouldn't just take any hadith. The people who were giving the hadith, they would have to fulfill certain conditions. So he had the most strictest conditions, after who was Imam Muslim. And Imam Muslim was actually one of the students of Imam Bukhari. So Imam Bukhari, he was born in the around the first Abbasid period time, 194 Hijri, 194 years after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was born on the day of Jumu'ah. He has also taken from Imam Ahmad, but Imam Ahmad only 2 hadiths, because Imam Ahmad's teachers were the ones Imam Bukhari took from, so he would take from the source rather than the student. So Imam Bukhari, he has many students. From them, Imam Muslim, the one who has the second most best sound book of a hadith, which is Sahih al-Muslim. So Imam Muslim, Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Nisai, Imam Khuzaymah, they all compiled great books of a hadith, collection of the Prophet ﷺ's sunnahs, prophetic traditions, and they all actually, most of them were students of Imam Bukhari. His most famous student was Muhammad Firabri, who read Sahih Bukhari twice upon Imam Bukhari. And the Imam Bukhari, he had dreams where he saw the Prophet ﷺ, and what he was doing was he was Imam Bukhari himself was moving all the flies, making the flies go away from the Prophet ﷺ, as an indication that what this magnificent book of Sahih Bukhari has, the service is done to this deen of Islam, how he's removed things, and we know exactly what the Prophet ﷺ did, said, and we can follow the Sunnah, as well as stepping exactly the same footsteps where the Prophet ﷺ stepped in, just to show how closely attached to the Sunnah he was and what he collected. So when he was young, there was many things that were special about Imam Bukhari that his teachers found so, and he would correct, even at the age of 12, he would correct his teachers in terms of the chain of transmission. He would memorize all those chains of transmission. So finally, just want to mention that when he passed away, it was 256 Hijri, and Imam Bukhari, one who was now the most famous in books of hadith, at that time, towards his end of his life, there were different opinions against him, there was all these accusations against him, so he just wanted to be with his Rabb, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who took him on the night of Saturday, which was the at time of Isha. رحمه الله رحمة واسعة وجزاه عن الإسلام والمسلمين بقدر ما قدم من خير. Whatever he has given to us of value, of goodness from this collection that he's done, we ask Allah to reward him, to raise his status in Jannah, to have mercy on him, forgive him. So we begin this kitab, this book of hadith, and Imam Bukhari starts off with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, just like the Quran, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He does not say after that Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, because Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim kind of indicates to that, so he did not say Alhamdulillah after that. And then Kitabu Bad'ul Wahid, book of revelation, the beginning of the book of the beginning of revelation. So Imam Bukhari, he starts off with إِنَّا أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ كَمَا أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى نُوحٍ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ مِن بَعْدِهِ. He starts off with a verse from the Quran, just like after Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with verses of the Quran. So he started off with the verse, indeed we have revealed to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, just as we have revealed to Nuh and to the prophets before you. So here's a connection. Whatever came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is not something new. It came to the previous prophets. That league of prophets, that brotherhood of prophets is come before as well. So there's nothing new that the Prophet ﷺ brought in terms of this. Islam was there from the start, from Adam al-Islam all the way to the last prophet, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And here he's mentioned Prophet Nuh. And Prophet Nuh is one of those who was the Ulil Azm. There's prophets and then there's arch prophets. Yeah, the great ones are Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in order of greatness. Then Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, then Musa alayhi salam, then there is a difference of opinion, Isa alayhi salam, and then Nuh alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam at the end. So these are the great arch prophets. And Nuh alayhi salam was the first prophet who faced harm in the path of Allah, in the cause of Allah. He was calling people to Allah, to worship one Allah, and he was facing harm, because before him, Adam al-Islam with his children, he didn't face that same thing. So the Prophet Nuh thrown stones at him, he was rebuked, he was mocked at for the ark he was building, and so on and so forth. So Prophet Nuh, a great prophet, linked in this ayah. But just notice, Inna awhayna ilayka, first is mentioned, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is mentioned first, before Nuh al-Islam later on, and the other prophets, just to show the value of the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So as we carry on with the hadith, we're looking at the first hadith today. This is not going to be in order that we're going to the second hadith and the third. No, I'm going to be picking and choosing from different places in Sahih Bukhari to look at different chapters, look at different rulings and different things that we can take from the hadith and listen and put in our lives from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So بإسنادنا المتصل عن مشايخنا جزاهم الله عنا خير للإمام البخاري في صحيحه قال حدثنا الحميدي عبد الله بن زبير. So I'll start the chain of transmission, how it comes in the first hadith that Imam Bukhari has written. And just to make a note, the first person, Al-Humaydi, was a Qurashi. He was from the Quraysh, Abdullah ibn Zubair. And this person was from the people of Khadija radiallahu anha, the Prophet's wife. So so Imam Bukhari, he placed as the first person in this book of a hadith a Qurashi, a Quraysh. Just as the Prophet said, "Qaddimu al-Quraysh," that put first the Quraysh. So this is already in Sunnah of the Prophet how his commands were, his actions were. And so it continues, and I'll just read the first chain of transmission to the first hadith. قال حدثنا سفيان قال حدثنا يحيى ابن سعيد الأنصاري قال أخبرني محمد ابن إبراهيم التيمي أنه سمع القمة ابن وقاص الليثي يقول سمعت عمر ابن الخطاب رضي الله عنه على المنبر قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول. So all this chain of transmission, we started with Humaydi Abdullah ibn Zubair, reaches up to Umar ibn al-Khattab. Now everyone should know who Umar ibn al-Khattab is, the 40th person to become a Muslim in that beginning, when the Muslims were few in numbers. But when he became a Muslim, the Muslims they gathered strength and their resolve, and they became strong. So Umar ibn al-Khattab, one of the brave and courageous companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the one whose name is Al-Faruq, the one who differentiates between haqq and batil, truth and falsehood, the one who even shaitan would not cross in that path. Let's say he would not walk in the same path where Umar radiallahu anhu is in. So he was the second Khalifa of Islam, the Amirul Mu'mineen, and him as an Amirul Mu'mineen is saying on the mimbar. Which mimbar? The mimbar of the Prophet ﷺ's masjid. This is in his time. So after the Prophet ﷺ died at 63, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu became the Khalifa, and he died at 63 years of age, and then Umar radiallahu anhu came to be the next Khalifa, and he died at the age of 63 as well. And he narrated more than 500 hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that he heard, and this is one of them. And he says, I will bring the text up, so pause it and write down. Whenever you get a good snapshot of it. And it says, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الدنيا يصيبها أو إلى امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. So this is the first hadith at the beginning of Revelation, and it's mentioned, and this is how Imam Bukhari, he starts off with, he says, actions are by intentions. So the Shafis, they take correct actions are by intentions. Others, like Hanafis, will say complete actions, meaning perfected, being perfect actions are by intentions. So with the Shafis saying correct actions are by intentions, for us, if you don't have an intention when you're doing an act of worship, you haven't performed it. If you haven't intended to do it, that's why it is one of the conditions in many of one of the first acts. Sorry, it's an obligatory act to have an intention at the beginning of that action. So if you're going to pray Salah and you don't intend to pray, and you start, then for us it's you haven't done the first obligatory act of the prayer, so it's not accepted. So for us, it's correct action is by intention, but for Hanafis, it's no. That action will be correct, that ibadah will be correct, but if you make an intention, it's even perfect. It makes it even better. So there's a difference of opinion there. That is not a problem. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى, and for every person is what they intended. فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى دُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا. So whosoever migrated, as an example, for the benefits of the dunya, for worldly benefits, whoever migrated for that purpose, that intention, then that's what it's for. أو إلى امرأة ينكحها, or for to marry a woman. You migrate from one place to another to marry a woman. Then فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. So your migration is for what you intended. So in here we have niyyah, or niyat as it comes in the plural sense. So niyyah, what is niyyah? So about niyyah, the Shafis have a saying: حقيقة حكم محل زمن كيفية شرط ومقصود حسن. So we say, what is the reality of a niyyah? Niyyah is what? Is al-qasd مطابق للفعل. Is a intention, is a resolve that you're going to do something in conjunction with an action, with that action. So you're going to do something, you do it with the action at that time, mostly at that time, as you will see. So that's what the reality is. You're intending at that time to do it. Niyyah in the language sense, it just means a resolve, a decision. You're making a decision. But in the according to the ulama, that it is that intention that you're doing, and in agreement with that action that you're about to do. So you intended, and the action is going to follow straight away. So it's kind of like before it's. So haqiqatun is done. Hukmun, what is the ruling of it? And for us Shafis, it's an obligatory thing to have a niyyah. You're doing wudu, have a niyyah for it. You're performing tawaf, have a niyyah for it. You're performing fasting, you have a niyyah for it, have an intention for it. Majority of the time. So when I say majority of the time, you can't have that. It's not niyyah is always going to be at the beginning. Why? We'll see. As in Ramadan, at the beginning of it, when's the beginning of the fasting? It's at dawn. So to wait for that dawn part, when is it to make a niyyah? Then you might not make it right in time, and it's really tricky. So we have the whole night to make a niyyah. So there's different. And Hajj as well, you intend in Shawwal for later on for Dhul Hijjah when it comes. So you intended months before the actual Hajj. On Arafah is Hajj, so that day of Arafah you're not going to intend then. It's you've intended that Hajj from before, because then you make the move to go. Mahallun, where is the place for niyyah? The place for niyyah is in the heart, but it is sunnah to say it by the tongue. Yes, it's a bid'ah. Bid'ah what? Bid'ah hasana. It's a good innovation. It's a good innovation that is considered a sunnah. It's our tongue helping our heart to be concentrated on what we're about to do. Those who want to say otherwise, smile at them and let's carry on. Right, zaman. When is it? Like I said, is the time of it. When is the time of the intention? That intention will be at the beginning of the act. So when we do wudu, now I do have a fiqh series, so you might, when the fiqh part of wudu comes, have a look at that. But when we start washing our hands, that's not the first part that's obligatory for us, nor the rinsing of the mouth or the nostrils. It's face. So when we're making the wudu, the first part, which is the water hitting the face, that is when we're making the intention that we are performing wudu, the first wudu, that Allah give us tahara and purification, and that being that state to be able to do the ibadah of salah. Kayfiyya, how you should have knowledge of what you're intending to do when you're going to embark upon. So if you're going to be praying salah, you're praying salah, so you know that it's simply that. Whatever, if you're intending something, another act of worship, you know what you're doing. So having that knowledge of that. Shart was the condition of for niyyah. The condition is Islam. You have to be a Muslim. Any act that's done and you're not a Muslim is not really accepted. And then maqsoodun hasan, what is the goal of it? What is this good aim of niyyah? It's ikhlas. Ikhlas, sincerity. And this is in alignment with the Prophet ﷺ's sunnah, his prophetic traditions, and being in line with the requirements from the Sharia. So this hadith, actions are by intentions. So for everything that we are intending to do in terms of acts of worship, make a niyyah for it. Now you can do things that are just, does everything need to have a niyyah? Not really. There's things that you just do as in permissible. You walk, you eat, you say Bismillah, I need alhamdulillah, Bismillah, mashallah, that's good. You open the door, you open the window, whatever. There's all these things that are just permissible to do. But the trick is what if you did it by having an intention? Oh, I'm doing it for the pleasure of Allah. So let's say you're opening the window, but there's people here, it's kind of hot, and you just open the window. Did you get a reward? No, it's a permissible act. Great. But did you get any reward for really just opening the window? No. But if you intended, I am doing that to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to relieve, everybody's kind of seems warm and hot and everything, let them get coolness, you intending good for them, then you open the window, you get rewards. So there's a trick in that to understand that. It's what aniyah is what makes an action that is just habitual, that something just comes by habit, making it into an ibadah, an act of worship that is rewarded. So just points to extract from this first hadith that we looked at. The deed that will be rewarded upon necessitates intention. So whatever you're going to do, action that you're going to do, it needs an intention, and that's when you do it. So whether you do it carelessly, where you intend it properly, you concentrated, everything's going to be rewarded according to that. So if you had a niyyah for it, for things like I said, just opening the window, you had an intention and you had the right intention, then reward. Sincerity, I mentioned, sincerity is very necessary so that it is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not everything needs a niyyah as well. The next point, just another point to extract, not everything needs a niyyah, like I have mentioned, but like traveling for some purposeful thing, to marry somebody else somewhere else or something, again, it's not everything, it's not that it's looked down upon that you've traveled just to marry somebody, or you have done something for a worldly benefit. But like I say, if you put an intention that's something good in it, attached to it, then you get rewarded. And yeah, just the final point, the migration, not all migration that is worldly, just for worldly benefits or for marriage, it's not going to be something that's blameworthy. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم.